Hi guys, thank you for joining us in yet another exciting episode of Mama Kebobo Jikoni. If you guys follow me, you know I love chicken and potatoes, and that's what's up for the day. We are gonna bake something, and that's potato, chicken, and some vegetables. But before we get there, I want to go through the nitty-gritties, the laws, the whatnots of cutting up a chicken. I know it sounds easy, but I also know a lot of people struggle with it. So let's see what it is that you need to have or do when you're cutting up a chicken, so it's not a stressful thing for you to do. Okay, so here we have, it's a broiler chicken. I know you understand what that means. And the first thing you need to do before you chop up a chicken is to wipe it dry, pat it dry, so the knife does not slide off when you're chopping. And also basically when you're baking, it needs to be dry for it to not boil on top, but rather just absorb the heat. So here we go, let's pat our chicken dry. Use a kitchen towel. Like I'm doing over here, until it's all dry. All right, see, that's better. So you can see I have two knives. They will both come in handy, but I love, this is my favorite knife because it's it has a lot of weight on it. You can just basically chop anything with it. This one helps with the places where I feel like this one cannot go in fast or easily. And the first thing we need to do is just tear this membrane. So I'm gonna do that with this knife. See that? Very easy. All the way this way, both sides. So at this point, no hard chopping going on, just the membrane and the skin. See that? If you do that, you already have the chicken in half. Just a very light bending of it and you have the chicken already in half. And if you go ahead and chop these, still no hard chopping, very light so far. Now here's the trick. When you get to the thigh and the leg, what you do, you just bend it on one side. Make sure you hold it in the middle. You pop like that. This comes out. Cut around it. You see that? So far, just light cutting, no bone yet. Do that again on the other side. You pop, and where this bone shows up, just go ahead and cut around it. See that? Okay, so here is a beautiful part. If you want to separate the thigh and the leg, you just peel the skin back a little bit and look at this joint. There's a joint over here. You can feel it if you feel with your hands. And what you do, you just cut around the joint. Here is a joint. I'm just gonna put my knife in like that and cut straight down. See? Nothing cut, no bone, just the joint. See? Here is a soft part of the joint. We have two pieces. I'm gonna do the same with this part. See? It actually goes in when you press it, so just put the knife in there and cut like that. Again, see that? A soft joint. See? So again, no hard cutting. This piece is already cut, it's there. So let's come to the breast and the upper part of the chicken. Come to the wing. There's also another joint over here. See? When I press in, you can just trace the joint by doing this. It's here, I can feel it. So I'm just gonna gently put my knife in. See that? Can you see? No bone yet, just going round the joint. Here we go. Another soft cut. Do that with the other wing. Do this, feel the joint where it's moving. Then trace your knife in softly like that. See? Can you see that? No bone. And then cut around it. Then come to the breast. This is the back, this is the front, where you have two chicken breasts, this and this. So come in smoothly in the middle. Let's use this because we'll have to hit a bone here. In the middle, there's a cartilage over there. I want to show you how to go about it. Here, so far everything is smooth, but now there's this bone that you have to hit like that, and then you can just pull everything else apart. One side of the breast already done. Sorry, you have one breast. For Kenyans, we like to cut this into two, which is also perfectly fine. Or alternatively, you can just trace this bone and remove it to have a full chicken breast. But for purposes of us and the way we divide, I'm gonna cut this into two. So go in smoothly without cutting any bone. And then when you get the bone, just make sure you hit once, like that. That's why we needed a cleaver, because a cleaver is a bit heavy, so it just goes in once, because you don't want to have those specks of bone, you know, when you're chewing your chicken. You don't want to interact with those small bones. They can really cause some damage. So again, light cutting for this one until we get one breast. There we go. We're gonna cut this into two. Softly go into the fleshy part of the chicken until you hit the bone, and then easily do that. Or alternatively, just do that. There. I hope that was easy enough. They are not too meaty, but it's very good for stewing and you know, generating broth or chicken soup. So here we have how many parts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you have 2 wings, 2 thighs, 2 legs, chicken breast cut in 4, that's 10, and the carcass cut into 2, so those are 12 pieces. Was that hard? Was that easy? Have you learned something? Let me know in the comments below. Next step of this video, we're gonna season these with some potatoes and some vegetables, season them, pop them in the oven. But let me bring up the potatoes, then we proceed from there, all right? My potatoes and I are back, so let's just, you know, because we're gonna bake them with the skin on. We can, you know, get rid of any blemishes or whatever you don't want on them out fast. You can do this process while cleaning them, or you can just do after while just about to chop them. But they are thoroughly scrubbed. I just wanted to leave a few with such kind of unwanted parts so we can remove them together. There we go. If you feel uncomfortable, you can feel free to just peel them. It's just that I feel like leaving the skin on gives them a crispy outside and holds everything in together. You don't want to overcook the potatoes. They start falling apart, which can happen sometimes. So I recommend you leave the skin on. So basically what we're going to do is just chop the potatoes, add them to the chicken. Our chicken is still right here. So let's get to it. And since the chicken will take about between 45 minutes and 60 minutes to cook, I think that's a long cook. The chicken is 1.4 kilos, so let's give it 50 minutes, exactly 50 minutes. You can have the luxury of cutting the potatoes into large pieces. I mean, potatoes cook pretty fast compared to the chicken, so you don't want to dice them into small pieces that they overcook in the 50 minutes. So feel free to leave them in big chunks. I like them to have different shapes. This way they crisp up differently at the edges as opposed to just one shape. I think it doesn't have character when everything looks the same. I like, you know, every piece to have its own uniqueness. See, like that? Different shapes make the whole dish a bit more fun. So let's just do that. Also for this recipe, we are going to season the potatoes and the chicken differently. Not too different. They will have common elements like the garlic, like the rosemary. They both complement both potatoes and chicken. But I want the series specifically on the chicken only because it has some herbs that I want to shine in the chicken. And then just the potatoes, we're just gonna use the garlic, the rosemary, black pepper, and salt. Simple as that. Potatoes are good to go. And besides, the potatoes are gonna cook with the juice droppings from the chicken, but I'll show you how that happens from the layering of the ingredients in the baking tray. You're about to see that. And I cannot stress this enough. You have to try as much as humanly possible to cut the pieces in almost equal sizes so they cook at the same rate. You don't want some overcooked, some undercooked, and some cooked just right. I mean, you don't want to gamble every time you put something in your mouth, right? So yeah, try as much as possible to cut them in similar or equal shapes if you can, I mean sizes, so they cook evenly. Let's get that out. There you go. As for the vegetables, you can add any that you want. You can do zucchini, you can do colored peppers, green peppers, onions. Feel free to do whatever vegetables you want. Also remember to slice them into chunks because, like I said, they have a whole 50 minutes in the oven to cook. So don't be shy. Don't cut them too small. Otherwise they'll overcook and burn around the edges. So there we are. Our potatoes chopped, vegetables chopped. So let's season these. Our seasonings are very basic. We're gonna use salt, black pepper, garlic, our jasiri, and cooking oil and lemon juice or lime juice, and some fresh rosemary. If you don't have, you can use dried rosemary, but I always recommend to go with fresh herbs. All right, let's get started with the potatoes. For these, I'm gonna need about a tablespoon. Could be a bit less, a bit more, depending on what you have. And black pepper, a teaspoon of it. I didn't fill up the teaspoon properly. And we are just basically going to toast these. They're too full. I'm gonna dig in there, but before I get to that, let's season the chicken. For the chicken, I want to be very, very specific so you don't mess it up. We are going to add, this garlic was a tablespoon and a half of garlic paste. A tablespoon and a half of garlic paste. A heaped tablespoon, I hope you can see that, of jasiri seasoning. These will be very yummy, I can assure you. And a tablespoon of salt for the chicken. This ratio works perfectly every time. And this is 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. We are going to combine everything together. So far we have these freshly squeezed lime juice from one very, very juicy lime, as you can see. We have 2 tablespoons of cooking oil, 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 heaped tablespoon of jasiri seasoning, and what didn't I mention? There is salt, there is jasiri seasoning, there is juice from lime juice, and oh my god, what am I what am I missing, guys? I know you're watching, so you're following. What am I missing? Let me recap this. Oh yeah, we have garlic paste, we have jasiri seasoning, we have salt and freshly squeezed lime, and some cooking oil. So let's go over that again. Jasiri seasoning, 1 heaped tablespoon, salt 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of cooking oil, and freshly squeezed lime juice, all in here. Next, we're going to add the freshly plucked rosemary sprigs. You need like 2 or 3 depending on how strongly you want the flavor to manifest. So that. I will add these on top once everything goes into the pan, so don't worry, to the baking tray. But meanwhile, let's pour these over the chicken. That's all the seasoning you need. You don't need to do too much for the chicken to shine. At the end of the day, you still want to taste the chicken. Jasiri is just perfect because it brings in spices and herbs together in a very balanced way. You will not need something else. So don't be shy, go in there. Make sure everything is mixed up properly. Also feel free to make slits on the chicken pieces so the marinade or the seasoning can go in every nook and cranny. There you go. That's it for the chicken. But then if you're a patient person, you can do these hours ahead and just keep it in the fridge until you're ready to pop it in the oven, where you just take it out, leave it at the kitchen counter for, let's say, 30 minutes and then pop it in the oven. It will be perfect. I'm done with that. Look at that. The smell is heavenly. It smells already really good. Look at that. Actually kind of looks yummy even before we get to cooking it. So yeah, that's it for the chicken. Let's toss the potatoes. I should have used a bigger bowl. I guess I'm too hungry. I decided to use too many potatoes. But don't you worry, everything will combine perfectly in here. As I cook, can toss. Make sure everything is coated with the spice. So here's a trick that we need to do. We didn't oil the potatoes because they're going in with the chicken, and all the droppings from the chicken and the marinade that had a couple of tablespoons of cooking oil will all come down to the potatoes. Here's a trick. We are going to place the chicken pieces on top of the potatoes so that all the droppings, all the goodness from the chicken, all the spice and everything can go to the potatoes. You see now why we did not over season the potatoes, because they are going in one pot. This is a lazy meal. If you come home from work, you're too tired, this is a perfect thing to do. It takes about 10 minutes for prep. Put it in the oven for 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Go shower, relax, come back to an already cooked meal that is so delicious. You will not believe it. Look at that. What do you think? Let's get this out of the way so we can have a closer look at our end product. This is perfectly seasoned. I've done this like a million times, so I know what I'm talking about. When you're putting it in the oven, make sure it's the skin side up, because you want that golden crispy skin on your chicken. So we are basically just gonna pop this in the oven for 50 minutes, 200 degrees Celsius, and both heat from top to bottom. You can see that from your cooker where it has two lines, one on top and one at the bottom, means the heat is coming from both ends. Do that for, we are going 50 minutes, but usually it takes between 45 and 60 minutes, depending on how big or small your chicken is. Mine was 1.4 kilos. We are doing it at exactly 50 minutes. We again don't want to overcook it so it dries out. 50 minutes is perfectly okay. And no, we're not gonna cover this. We'll just put it in the oven as is and have a look at it 50 minutes later. Don't go anywhere. Here we are, guys. Look at that. Oh my. I really just want to dig into this and have a bite because I know how good it tastes. But again, don't take my word for it. Please try this recipe. Use the measurements I shared while we are starting the video. Let me know how you like it. Please try and comment so I know how you're trying my recipes, how you're liking them, or what troubles you're having trying them, and I will be sure to respond. Thank you guys for joining us on yet another episode. I hope to see you on the next one. See you soon.